In case I didn't have enough projects already, the bus, which you would have seen in the last video, is closer resembling a block of Swiss cheese in a few spots. There is no aircon, so as much as ventilation is useful, rust holes aren't quite the kind of ventilation I want. My plan is to fix as much as I can with limited time, tools, and non-existent skills. The two problem areas of most concern are the roof and the floor pan. Both have speed holes that aren't really meant to be there. Because of the leaky roof, almost all of the interior is stuffed, but that's a problem for later me. To start off with, I used a shop vac and a scraper to clean up a scary amount of rust. Then, with the wire wheel and a flap disc, I rediscovered the metal and determined the areas that required action the most. I believe there are two different reasons that the floor got as bad as it is. Firstly, the windshield leaks like a pig. So, I took the guard off and taped it. Problem solved. Secondly, the brake master that I fixed last episode used to leak, and the corrosive fluid may have accelerated the problem. Thankfully, we fixed that last time as well. Next, I cut out the sections with holes and flattened them on the bench in order to trace out new pieces of metal. I did some bending on the bench, which wasn't as successful as I'd expected, but it was sufficient to make things meet up. The biggest problem came with welding. I have, up until recently, only ever used a stick welder, so the MIG was a learning curve. In hindsight, I should have cut more metal out and put more effort into the preparations, but I couldn't be The welding was near impossible, as every bit of glorified iron ore was turning back into dust. At first, it looked terrible, because I was just blowing holes through the old steel. Bit by bit, however, I slowly replaced small sections that were just too thin. Eventually, I got close enough to a sturdy floor, and although everything looked welded, there were some substantial holes that were hidden behind the heater box. Initially, I thought about some potential solutions, but instead I decided to wing it, and just fill them full of paint. First, I masked off the area slightly, because I am doing a professional job after all, and then I just went to town with a can. It didn't look great, but it still turned out better than I'd expected. With the floor now certified good enough, it was time to move on to the roof, which at least couldn't go worse, surely. Taking a step back though, just whilst I had the can in my hand, I did a walk around and sprayed the rust I could see on the outside. I understand that the cold galv which I was using may have caused a lot of problems when I eventually want to paint the whole body, but there is a song about that called Dilly Gaff, so let's get back to the roof. Before I could work on the roof, I had to pull out the ceiling and some of the overhead storage. Next came the insulation, and the bus was really looking like a mess. Cleaning the surface of the roof was also challenging. The body filler that was used was silicone, so it was nearly impossible to sand down. Initially, I did the same as with the floor by cutting out a section. It was really tricky though, because there were more spot welds than you can point a stick at. By the time I had the old piece on the bench, it was badly warped. I hit it with the hammer until it was flat and traced a new bit with plenty of margin for error. When I got the new piece on the roof, however, it was not even close to the right shape. Again, I ignored the problem and proceeded ignorantly and, frankly, stupidly, instead of just sacrificing a new bit of steel. There were gaps on all sides, and some parts were too much steel and some parts weren't enough, but I just naively tried to fill them full of weld. The main reason the hole I cut was uneven in the first place is the fact I had to ensure sparks from the grinder wouldn't set inside on fire. This meant I had to cut from the inside for the majority until I could get someone to supervise, which was quite challenging with the frame in the way. The speed holes really did come in handy though, at least something went well, as they allowed me to leave the MIG gas bottle inside the bus while working on the roof, which is a lot easier than having to carry it up there somehow. To be honest, I completely butchered the roof. The title was a question after all, and the answer's no. I've learnt a lot doing these small sections, and I still have so much more to learn before I will be able to fix them properly. The relatively small section of the roof that I started with is only marginally better than before I touched it, and I'm definitely going to have to come back and try again. My plan is to come back in another video and strip the interior back to frame and start fresh. After all, there is still that surprise new project I need to pick up first. In the next video, we tune the bus, sort of. We redneck engineer up a tow hitch. We go bush bashing, and I make terrible financial decisions, just in case I didn't have enough projects already. Thanks for watching.